as described in the second chapter, when the king of the elephants, along with his female elephants, was enjoying in the water, a crocodile suddenly attacked, and the elephant surrendered to the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead for protection. In the midst of the ocean of milk, there is a very high and beautiful mountain that has an altitude of 10,000 yojanas, or 80,000 miles. This mountain is known as Trikuta. In a valley of Trikuta, there is a nice garden named Ritumat, which was constructed by Varuna. And in that area, there is a very nice lake. Once the chief of the elephants, along with female elephants, went to enjoy bathing in that lake, and they disturbed the inhabitants of the water. Because of this, the chief crocodile in that water, who was very powerful, immediately attacked the elephant's leg. Thus, there ensued a great fight between the elephant and the crocodile. This fight continued for 1,000 years. Neither the elephant nor the crocodile died. But since they were in the water, the elephant gradually became weak, whereas the power of the crocodile increased more and more. Thus, the crocodile became more and more encouraged than the elephant, being helpless and seeing that there was no other way for his protection, sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text number 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, there is a very large mountain called Trikuta. It is 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles high. Being surrounded by the ocean of milk, it is very beautifully situated." Text 2 and 3. The length and breadth of the mountain are of the same measurement, 80,000 miles. Its three principal peaks, which are made of iron, silver, and gold, beautify all directions and the sky. The mountain also has other peaks, which are full of jewels and minerals, and are decorated with nice trees, creepers, and shrubs. The sounds of waterfalls on the mountain create a pleasing vibration. In this way, the mountain stands, increasing the beauty of all directions. Text number 4. The ground at the foot of the mountain is always washed by waves of milk that produce emeralds all around in the 8 directions, north, south, east, west, and the directions midway between them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. From Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that there are various oceans. Somewhere there is an ocean filled with milk, somewhere an ocean of liquor, an ocean of ghee, an ocean of oil, and an ocean of sweet water. Thus, there are different varieties of oceans within this universe. The modern scientists, who have only limited experience, cannot defy these statements. They cannot give us full information about any planet, even a planet on which we live. From this verse, however, we can understand that if the valley of some mountains are washed with milk, this produces emeralds. No one has the ability to imitate activities of material nature as conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text number 5. The inhabitants of the higher planets, the Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, serpents, Kinnaras, and Apsaras, go to that mountain to sport. Thus, all the caves of the mountain are full of these denizens of the heavenly planets. As ordinary men may play in the salty ocean, the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems go to the ocean of milk. They float in the ocean of milk and also enjoy various sports within the caves of Trikuta. Well, even here on our Earth planet, some rich people, they take bath in milk. Apparently, it's very, very good for health and especially for the skin. Yeah. Because of the resounding vibrations of the denizens of heaven, singing in the caves, the lions there, being very proud of their strength, roar with unbearable envy, thinking that another lion is roaring in that way. Purport. In the higher planetary systems, there are not only different types of human beings, but also animals like lions and elephants. There are trees, and the land is made of emeralds. Wow, just imagine that. Such is the creation of the Supreme Personality of God. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has sung in this regard, Keshava Tuya Jagata Vichitra. My Lord Keshava, your creation is colorful and full of varieties. Geologists, botanists, and other so-called scientists speculate about other planetary systems. But being unable to estimate the varieties on other planets, they falsely imagine that all planets but this one are vacant, uninhabited, and full of dust. Although they cannot even estimate the varieties existing throughout the universe, they are very proud of their knowledge, and they are accepted as learned by persons of similar caliber. As described in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.19, Swavit Varahostra Karai Samtusta Purusha Pasu. Materialistic leaders are praised by dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, and they themselves are also big animals. One should not be satisfied with the knowledge imparted by a big animal. Rather, one must take the knowledge from a perfect person like Sukadeva Goswami. Mahajanayena Gatasapanta. Our duty is to follow the instructions of the Mahajanas. There are 12 Mahajanas, and Sukadeva Goswami is one of them. Swayambur Narada Sambhu, Kumara Kapalo Manu, Palado Janako Dismo, followed by Sakir Vayam. Vaisakhi is Sukadeva Goswami. Whatever he says, we consider to be factual. That is perfect knowledge. The valley beneath the Trikuta mountain, or the valleys beneath the Trikuta mountain, are beautifully decorated by many varieties of jungle animals and in the trees, which are maintained in gardens by the demigods. Varieties of birds chirp with sweet voices. Text number 8. Chikuta Mountain has many lakes and rivers, with beaches covered by small gems, resembling grains of sand. The water is as clear as crystal, and when the demigod damsels bathe in it, their bodies lend fragrance to the water and the breeze, thus enriching the atmosphere. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Even in the material world, there are many grades of living entities. The human beings on earth generally cover themselves with the external fragrances to stop their bad bodily odors. But here we find that because of the bodily fragrance of the demigod damsels, the rivers and lakes, the breeze, and the entire atmosphere of Trikuta Mountain also become fragrant. Since the bodies of the damsels in the upper planetary systems are so beautiful, we can just imagine how beautifully formed are the bodies of the Vaikuntha damsels or the damsels in Vrindavan, the gopis. Text 9 to 13. In a valley of Trikuta Mountain, there was a garden called Ritumat. This garden belonged to the great devotee Varuna and was a sporting place for the damsels of the demigods. Flowers and fruits grew there in all seasons. Among them were mandaras, parijatas, patalas, asokas, champakas, kutas, pialas, panasas, mangoes, amratakas, kramukas, coconut trees, date trees, and pomegranates. There were madukas, palm trees, tamalas, asanas, arjunas, aristas, udumbaras, palakas, banyan trees, kimsukas, and sandalwood trees. Wow, very opulent. There were also pikumardas, kovidaras, saralas, suradarus, grapes, sugarcane, bananas, jambu, badaris, aksas, abayas, and amalakas. In that garden, there was a very large lake filled with shining golden lotus flowers. Oh my God, it's beautiful. and the flowers known as Kumuda, Kalara, Utpala, and Satapatra, which added excellent beauty to the mountain. There were also Bilva, Kapita, Jambira, and Balataka trees. Intoxicated bumblebees drank honey and hummed with the chirping of the birds, whose songs were very melodious. The lake was crowded with swans, karandavas, chakravakas, cranes, and flocks of water chickens. Dats, dati, dats, yutas, koyastis, and other murmuring birds. Because of the agitating movements of the fish and tortoises, the water was decorated with pollen that had fallen from the lotus flowers. The lake was surrounded by kadamba flowers, vetasa flowers, nalas, nipas, vanjulakas, kundas, kurubakas, asokas, sirisas, kutajas, ingudas, kubjakas, swarna yutis, nagas, punanagas, jatis, malikas, satapatras, jalakas, and the Madhavi latas. The banks were also abundantly adorned with varieties of trees that yielded flowers and fruits in all seasons. Thus, the entire mountain stood gloriously decorated on a bowl. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Judging from the exhaustive description of the lakes and rivers on Trikuta Mountain, on earth there is no comparison to their super excellence. On other planets, however, there are many such wonders. For instance, we understand that there are 2 million different types of trees, and not all of them are exhibited on Earth. Srimad Bhagavatam presents the total number, the total the total knowledge of the affairs of the universe. It is not only described, it not only describes this universe, but also takes into account the spiritual world beyond the universe. No one can challenge the Srimad Bhagavatam's descriptions of the material and spiritual worlds. The attempts to go from the earth to the moon have failed. You see that? That's a statement he made at least 60 years ago, and it's still valid. That just proves that they never went to the moon. So it says here, the Srimad Bhagavatam's descriptions of the material and spiritual. The attempts to go from the earth to the moon have failed. But the people of earth can understand what exists on other planets. There is no need of imagination. One may take actual knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam and be satisfied. So you don't have to waste billions of dollars trying to go to the moon. They never went to the moon in the first place, and they're never going to go to the moon, right? But they're spending millions and millions of dollars, on so-called space. What do you call it? Trying to find out what's in outer space. They haven't done more than go 40 miles up into space. No more than that. What can they understand? They're just going 40 miles. Text 20. The leader of the elephants who lived in the forest of the mountain Trikuta once wandered toward the lake with his female elephants. He broke many plants, creepers, thickets, and trees, not caring for their piercing thorns. Yeah, I mean, these big elephants, they don't care about breaking thorns and thickets and trees. Text 21. Simply by catching scent of that elephant, all the other elephants, the tigers, and other ferocious animals such as lions, rhinoceroses, great serpents, and black and white sarabas fled in fear. The Kamari deer also fled. By the mercy of this elephant, animals like the foxes, wolves, buffaloes, bears, boars, gopuchas, porcupines, monkeys, rabbits, and other deer, and many other small animals loitered elsewhere in the forest. They were not afraid of him. Purport. All the animals were particularly controlled by the elephant. Yet, although they could not move without fear, because of respect, they did not stand before him. Text 23 and 24. Surrounded by the herds, other elephants, including females, and followed by young ones, Gajapati, the leader of the elephants, made Trikuta Mountain tremble all around because of the weight of his body. He was perspiring. Liquor dripped from his mouth, and his vision was overwhelmed by intoxication. He was being served by bumblebees who drank honey, and from a distance he could smell the dust of the lotus flowers, which was carried from the lake by the breeze. Thus, surrounded by his associates who were afflicted by thirst, he stood. He soon arrived at the bank of the lake. Text 25. The king of the elephants entered the lake, bathed thoroughly, and was relieved of his fatigue. Then, with the aid of his trunk, he drank the cold, clear, nectarian water, which was mixed with the dust of lotus flowers and water lilies, until he was fully satisfied. Text 26. Like a human being who lacks spiritual knowledge and is too attached to the members of his family, the elephant, being illusioned by the external energy of Krishna, had his wives and children bathe and drink the water. Indeed, he raised water from the lake with his trunk and sprayed it over them. He did not mind the hard labor involved in this endeavor. By the arrangement of providence, O king, a strong crocodile was angry at the elephant and attacked the elephant's leg in the water. The elephant was certainly strong, and he tried his best to get free from this danger sent by Providence. Thereafter, seeing Gajendra in that grave condition, his wives felt very, very sorry and began to cry. The other elephants wanted to help Gajendra, but because of the crocodile's great strength, they could not rescue him by grasping him from behind. Second, O king, the elephant and the crocodile fought in this way, pulling one another in and out of the water for 1,000 years. Upon seeing the fight, the demigods were very surprised. Text 30. Thereafter, because of being pulled into the water and fighting for many long years, the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength. The crocodile, on the contrary, being an animal of the water, increased in youth and in enthusiasm, physical strength, and sensual power. Purport: in the fighting between the elephant and the crocodile, the difference was that although the elephant was extremely powerful, he was in a foreign place in the water. During 1,000 years of fighting, he could not get any food. And under the circumstances, his bodily strength diminished. And because of his bodily strength diminishing, his mind also became weak and his senses less powerful. The crocodile, however, being an animal of the water, had no difficulties. He was getting food and was therefore getting mental strength and sensual encouragement. Thus, while the elephant became reduced in strength, the crocodile became more and more powerful. Now, from this, we may take the lesson that in our fight with Maya, we should not be in a position in which our strength, enthusiasm, and senses will be unable to fight vigorously. Our Krishna consciousness movement has actually declared war against the illusory energy, in which all the living entities are rotting in a false understanding of civilization. Well, that's a correct statement. Very correct. The soldiers in this Krishna consciousness movement must always possess physical strength, enthusiasm, and sensual power. To keep themselves fit, they must therefore place themselves in a normal condition of life. What constitutes a normal condition will not be the same for everyone. And therefore, there are divisions of Varnashram: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. Especially in this age of Kali Yuga, it is advised that no one takes sannyasa. Asvamedam gavalambam sannyasam palapatrikam devarena sutot patim kavo pancha vivarjayat. Brahma Vaivarta Purana. From this, we can understand that in this age, the sannyasa ashrama is forbidden because people are not strong. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us an example in taking sannyasa at the age of 24 years. But even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya advised Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be extremely careful because he had taken sannyasa at an early age. For preaching, we give young boys sannyasa, but actually it is being experienced that they are not fit for sannyasa. There is no harm, however, if one thinks that he is unfit for sannyasa. If he is very much agitated sexually, he should go to the ashrama where sex is allowed, namely the Grihastha ashram. That one has been found to be very weak in one place does not mean that he should stop fighting the crocodile of Maya. One should take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, as we shall see Gajendra do, and at the same time, one can be a grihastha if he is satisfied with sexual indulgence. There is no need to give up the fight. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore recommended Stani Stita Srutigatam Tanuvan Manobi. One may stay in whichever ashrama is suitable for him. It is not essential that one takes sannyasa. If one is sexually agitated, he can enter the Grihastha ashram, but one must continue fighting. For one who is not in the transcendental position, to take sannyasa artificially is not a very great credit. If sannyasa is not suitable, one may enter the Grihastha ashram and fight Maya with great strength. But one should not give up the fighting and go away. Here it is. Don't give up. When the king of the elephants saw that he was under the clutches of the crocodile by the will of Providence, and being embodied and circumstantially helpless, could not save himself from danger, he was extremely afraid of being killed. He consequently thought for a long time and finally reached the following decision. Yeah, see, whenever it says providence, it means the uh, the it basically implies that it's something that Krishna has established. Uh, Everyone in the material world is engaged in a struggle for existence. Everyone tries to save himself from danger. But when one is unable to save himself, if he is pious, he then takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.16. Chaturvidha bhajam temam jana sukritina rijana artha jigyasur artha di ganicha varatarsava. Four kinds of pious men, namely, one who is in danger, one who is in need of money, one who is searching for knowledge, and one who is inquisitive, begin to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to be saved or to advance. The king of the elephants, in his condition of danger, decided to seek shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. After considerable thought, he intelligently arrived at this correct decision. Such a decision is not reached by a sinful man. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is, uh, therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who are pious, or in other words, they're sukriti, can decide that in a dangerous or awkward condition, one should seek shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Well, that is good advice. Text 32. The other elephants, who are my friends and relatives, could not rescue me from this danger. So that's what the king of the elephants is saying. What then to speak of my wives? They cannot do anything. It is by the will of providence. That means, again, the will of providence means whatever Krishna wants. That I have been attacked by this crocodile, and therefore I shall seek shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always the shelter of everyone, even of great personalities. Well, that's a good decision. Purport. This material world is described as padam padam yat vipadam, which means that at every step there is danger. A fool wrongly thinks that he is happy in this material world, but in fact he is not. For one who thinks that way is only illusion. At every step, at every moment, there is danger. In modern civilization, one thinks that if he has a nice home and a nice car, his life is perfect. In the Western countries, especially in America, it is very nice to possess a good car. But as soon as one is on the road, there is danger because at any moment an accident may take place and one will be killed. The record actually shows that so many people die in such accidents. Therefore, if we actually think that this material world is a very happy place, this is our ignorance. Real knowledge is that this material world is full of danger. We may struggle for existence as far as our intelligence allows, and and may try to take care of ourselves. But unless the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, ultimately saves us from the danger, our attempts will be useless. Therefore, Prahlada Maharaja says, Balasya Neha Saranam Pitaro Nishimha Nartasya Chagadam Udan Vati Majato No. Tap 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 tasya tat pratividir pratividir ya ihan jasestas tavad vipo tanu britam tavad upeksitanam. We may invent so many ways to be happy or to counteract the dangers of this material world. But unless our attempts are sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will never make us happy. Those who try to be happy without taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are mudas, rascals. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama. Those who are the lowest of men refuse to take to Krishna consciousness because they think that they will be able to protect themselves without Krishna's care. This is their mistake. The decision of the king of the elephants, Gajendra, was correct. In such a dangerous position, he sought shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though he was an elephant, he was very intelligent. Text 33. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly not known to everyone, but he is very powerful and influential. Therefore, although the serpent of eternal time, which is fearful in force, endlessly chases everyone, ready to swallow him, if one who fears this serpent seeks shelter of the Lord gives him protection, where even death runs away in fear of the Lord. I therefore surrender unto him, the great and powerful supreme authority, who is the actual shelter of everyone. Purports. One who is intelligent understands that there is a great and supreme authority above everything. That great authority appears in different incarnations to save the innocent from disturbances, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.8. Paritranaya sadunam vinasaya cha duskritam. The Lord appears in its various incarnations for two purposes: to annihilate the duskriti, the sinful, and to protect his devotees. The king of the elephants decided to surrender unto Krishna. This is intelligence. One must know that one must know that the great Supreme Personality of Godhead, one must know that great Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto him. The Lord comes personally to instruct us how to be happy, and only fools and rascals do not see by intelligence this supreme authority, the supreme person. In the Shruti mantra, it is said, Visasmad vata avate, Visodeti surya. Visasmad agnis chandras cha, Mrityur davati panchama. Taittiriya Upanishad 2.8. It is out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the wind is blowing, that the sun is distributing heat and light, and that death is chasing everyone. Thus, there is a supreme controller, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10, working so well because of the supreme controller. I'm sorry. Maya dakshena prakriti suryate sa characharam. This material manifestation is working so well because of the supreme controller. Any intelligent person, therefore, can understand that there is a supreme controller. Furthermore, the supreme controller himself appears as Lord Krishna, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as Lord Ramachandra, to give us instructions and to show us by example how to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet, those who are duskriti, the lowest of men, do not surrender. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord clearly says, Mrityu sarvaharas chaham. I am all devouring death. This mrityu, or death, is the representative who takes everything away from the living entity who has accepted a material body. No one can say, I do not fear death. Not very profound statement. This is a false proposition. Everyone fears death. However, one who seeks shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be saved from death. One may argue, does the devotee not die? The answer is that a devotee certainly must give up his body, for the body is material. The difference is, however, that for one who surrenders to Krishna fully and who is protected by Krishna, the present body is his last. He will not again receive a material body to be subjected to death. This is assured in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Kya vadeham punarjanma naiti mam eti, so Arjuna. A devotee, after giving up his body, does not accept a material body, but returns home back to Godhead. We are always in danger because at any moment death can take place. It is not that only Gajendra, the king of the elephants, was afraid of death. Everyone should fear death because everyone is caught by the crocodile of eternal time and may die at any moment. The best course, therefore, is to seek shelter of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and be saved from the struggle for existence in this material world in which one is repeatedly taking birth and dies. To reach this understanding is the ultimate goal of life. Wow, so nice. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the 8th canto, 2nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Elephant Gajendra's Crisis. Okay, now we'll go to chapter 3, Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. In this chapter, the prayers by Gajendra, the king of the elephants, are described. It appears that the king of the elephants was formerly a human being known as Indradumna, and that he learned a prayer to the Supreme Lord. Fortunately, he remembered that prayer and began to chant it to himself. First, he offered his respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because of his awkward position in having been attacked by the crocodile, he expressed his inability to recite prayers nicely. Nonetheless, he tried to chant the mantra and expressed himself in appropriate words as follows. Quote, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes, the original person from whom everything has emanated. He is the root cause of this cosmic manifestation, and the entire cosmos rests in him, yet he is transcendental. For he does not and does everything in relation to the material world through his external energy. For he does everything in relation to the material world through his external energy. He is externally situated in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavana, where he engages in his eternal pastime. The material world is a product of his external energy, or the material nature, which works under his direction. It is thus that creation and maintenance and annihilation take place. The Lord exists at all times. This is extremely difficult for a non devotee to understand. Although the transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead is perceivable by everyone, only the pure devotees perceive his presence and activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely free from the material birth, death, old age, and disease. Indeed, if anyone is in this material world takes shelter of him, he also becomes situated in that transcendental position. For the satisfaction of the devotee, Paritranaya Sadhanam, the Lord appears and exhibits his activities, his appearance, disappearance, and other pastimes are not at all material. One who knows this secret can enter the kingdom of God. In that Lord, all impressions, all opposing elements are adjusted. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart. He is the controller of everything. He is the witness of all activities, and he is the original source of all living entities. Indeed, all living entities are parts of him, for he is the original Mahavishnu, who is the source of the living entities within this material world. The land can observe the activities of our senses, which can work and achieve material results because of his mercy, Krishna's mercy. Although he is the original source of everything, he is untouched by any of his byproducts. In this way, he is like a gold mine, which is the source of gold in ornaments, and yet is different from the ornaments themselves. The Lord is worshipped by the method prescribed in the Pancharatras. He is therefore of our knowledge, and he can give us liberation. Therefore, it is our duty to understand him according to the instructions of devotees, in particular the spiritual master. Although for us the mode of goodness is covered, by following the instructions of saintly persons, the spiritual master, we can be freed from material clutches. The self-effulgent material form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is adored by non-devotees. His impersonal form is adored by those advanced in spiritual knowledge, and his feature as the localized supersoul is appreciated by yogis. But his original form as a person is understood only by devotees. Very good point. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is competent to dissipate the darkness of the conditioned soul through his instructions in Bhagavad Gita. He is the ocean of transcendental qualities and can be understood only by liberated persons, freed from the bodily conception of life. By his causeless mercy, the Lord can rescue the conditioned soul from the material clutches and enable him to return home back to God. to become his personal associate. Nonetheless, a pure devotee does not aspire to go back to, uh, sorry, to go back to Godhead. He is simply satisfied with executing his service in this material world. A pure devotee does not ask anything from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very important. His only prayer is to be freed from the material conception of life and to be engaged in the Lord's transcendental loving service. In this way, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, offered his prayers directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead without mistaking him for one of the demigods. None of the demigods came to see him, not even Brahma or Shiva. Rather, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, seated on Garuda, personally appeared before him, Gajendra, by lifting his trunk. His trunk offered obeisances to the Lord, and the Lord immediately pulled him from the water, along with the crocodile who had captured his leg. Then the Lord killed the crocodile and thus rescued Gajendra. That's what happens when you surrender to Krishna completely. You are protected from even the worst situations, such as Gajendra experienced for such a long time, with the crocodile biting his leg. But by the mercy of Krishna, the crocodile was killed and Gajendra was liberated. Okay, I think we're finished here today. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are there any questions anyone would like to ask? So our takeaway for today is the following. The self-effulgent material form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is adored by non-devotees. His impersonal form is adored by those advanced in spiritual knowledge, and his feature as the localized supersoul is appreciated by yogis. But his original form as a person is understood only by devotees. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is competent to dissipate the darkness of the conditioned soul through his instructions in Bhagavad Gita. He is the ocean of transcendental qualities and can be understood only by liberated persons freed from the bodily concept of life. By his causeless mercy, the Lord can rescue the conditioned soul from the material clutches and enable him to return home back to Godhead, to become his personal associate. Nonetheless, a pure devotee does not aspire to go back to Godhead. He is simply satisfied with executing his service in this material world. A pure devotee does not ask anyone from a pure devotee does not ask anything from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His only prayer is to be freed from the material conception of life and to be engaged in the Lord's transcendental loving service. In this way, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, offered prayers directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead without mistaking him for one of the demigods. None of the demigods came to see him, not even Brahma or Shiva. Rather, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, seated on Garuda, personally appeared before him, Gajendra, by lifting his trunk, offered obeisances to the Lord, and the Lord immediately pulled him from the water, along with the crocodile who had captured his leg. Then the Lord killed the crocodile and thus saved Gajendra. And thus ends today's discussion of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 3. And we were hearing Gajendra's prayers of surrender. And we will continue tomorrow with text number 1. Any questions or comments?
No. Any questions online?
Hey Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I'll go to Srila Prabhupada. My question is, like Gajendra, most of us remember Krishna when we are in difficulty or we are caught by some very difficult turmoil in our life. So how can we change that consciousness to remember him all the time, not just when we are in difficulty? Thanks.
Well, that's a very good question. That's why we chant our rounds every day. If you chant 16 rounds of the names of Krishna, you will be remembering Krishna all the time. That means that you are cognizant. Your mind is not in illusion. It's very awakened to the fact that you can die at any moment. Therefore, this chanting, regular chanting every day, puts us in a position to not be surprised or, let's say, ignorant about the possibility of dying at any moment. Therefore, a devotee does not say, oh, well, I'm still, 30 years old, I'm going to live another 30, 40 years. No. The devotee understands I can die at any moment. Therefore, every day I should hear the class, morning and evening, chant Hare Krishna, minimum 16 rounds, no maximum, and have nice prasadam, work honestly, and be always in a position ready to go back to Godhead. We're not going to be surprised. Oh, I didn't know I was going to die. No. We can die at any moment. But we're prepared to die at any moment because we are always chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
We don't want to be in a position of Gajendra. Gajendra, with all his wives, went into the lake or water to have sex. But instead of having sex, he had the crocodile bite him and held him in his mouth for a long time, for 1,000 years, I think. So that means that we should never become fooled by sense gratification. At any moment, we can die. Therefore, we should always be chanting Hare Krishna and hearing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and associating with devotees and chanting our rounds and always being ready for any situation of life. So that should be our culture. Always being ready for any situation of life. Okay, so I think we'll stop
Stop
there. Are
right
there any
there.
other questions or comments? Was that okay? Did I answer your question, Mataji?
Yes, you always do, Maharaj. Thank you always. Thank you. Hari.
Thank you for asking questions. Thank you,
Of course.
Haribo.
Haribo.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.